Today's guest is Mr. Jeff Johnson. He works for the Federal Aviation Administration, works on the technical support staff, and he works with the air traffic control system. And I've just asked him to talk about circumstances, or one in particular, whatever he chooses, and just the struggle or challenge that he went through, what he did to prepare for that, if he did anything to prepare for that, how he got through it, and then how it has changed him after that. So, Mr. Johnson, take it away.
Thanks, Jonathan. I thought about this as you posed the challenge to me, and I thought of one circumstance in particular. In technical support staff, we end up with a lot of the chronic problems. A lot of our technicians, when they have problems that they're having a really difficult time with, they'll call tech support. And we do a lot of projects. But one of the things that bugged me in the early years was that we paid a lot of money to a phone company to maintain our telephone switch at work. It's a pretty good sized phone switch, and one of the side duties I ended up getting handed by one of the other guys that was moving to a different position was anytime somebody wanted to make any kind of move, add, or change to the phone system, I would have to go and talk to them, get details about what they wanted to move, and just get everything all lined up, and then write an actual contract paper, and it had to go through logistics, and they had to go out and do funding documents. It was this long, painful process to get this stuff done for something really simple that somebody wanted done to the phone system. And then we would do this paperwork, spend all this money, pay the contractor. The contractor would come in, and I would have to escort them through the building because it's a secure facility. So I'd spend all the time with them, and we're just hemorrhaging all this money. So that frustrated me. I'm a taxpayer, and so that bugs me. So I just started really paying attention to what they were doing, asking questions. And eventually I started doing some of the minor changes on my own. Didn't tell anybody, just started doing it. And so some of the easy ones we started getting done just immediately at no cost. It wasn't like we're writing a contract, it's going to take like 2 weeks or a month to get this done. Well, as time went on, I started picking up more and more of these duties. Eventually got to the point where I'd learned enough that I did all of the moves, adds, and changes. But I didn't do the main maintenance on the actual switching system itself down in the basement. That was the big complex animal that we were all afraid of. But we were paying, at the time, about $4,500 a month to the contractor just for maintaining the system down in the basement that never had anything go wrong with it. So decided to be a smart taxpayer, and I got with our logistics officer, and I said, let's recompete this and get a company that can do it cheaper. Now we got a company that did it for $500 a month instead of $4,500 a month. And that sounds really wonderful, but the whole first year of the contract, they never came on site at all, not even to check anything. And I found myself going down, checking the system, running tests, and kind of taking care of things. Well, that frustrated me. Even though we were saving like $4,000 a month, I was still like, that's still a lot of money. And these guys never even came on site.
Wow.
They actually bid without ever coming. And so I thought, you know what? I should just take over the maintenance of the whole system. Because if I have something I can't handle, we can go back to the original vendor and just pay them time and materials. So we canceled the contract. I took over the whole switch. I did that for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And there was one time where I had to pay the original contractor to come back and help us with something. And all the rest of the time, I was doing it myself. And it didn't take any more time, my time, than it had to actually write up all the paperwork and bid contracts. So it wasn't like I was spending any more time. And we were saving buku bucks. I was buying refurbished equipment, just doing all kinds of things. And over 18 years, I kept track of it, we saved $1.7 million over 18 years.
Wow.
And there was a lot of headaches. There was sometimes some projects I took on, I got in over my head. I had to do a lot of homework. I would break out these manuals, I mean, like crazy. Like, think about like 10 telephone books, big like Indianapolis telephone books.
Oh my goodness.
That stuff was in there, and I would just go through and figure it out. And but I could always get there. What I found out was I had to go to other resources. I would call people that I knew that were in the industry and say, hey, I'm really stuck on this. I can't do it. I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you give me some coaching? And they would give me some help. And I'd get back in there and I would try it and eventually figure it out. And so it was, I found out that I could keep getting it done. If I pushed, if I studied, if I kept trying, if I didn't give up and just contacted the right people and got the right resources, I could always get there. There was not, in that 18 years, there was never anything that I had to like just fold on. But sometimes it was that reaching out and doing some extra. And I did some boo-boos too. I was doing a system upgrade one time. Got this, I think it was about a $2,500 board. I was distracted. There was a lot going on. I pushed it in the wrong slot. It blew up. I mean, sparks shooting out. Fortunately, it didn't blow up the phone switch. It was just that card. So it had a little setback there. But, other than that, my suggestion to people is try, work at it. Sometimes we give up too easily, and there were times where I was really sweating bullets. like oh no, what have I done? But always got there, and people appreciated it, and ultimately saved a whole lot of taxpayer money. And all the people in our building, they had like 450 telephones in this system. They were so happy that they'd put a request in, and sometimes it would get done the same day, but at least that week we would get it done.
For sure.
And no money expended. So that was kind of my big challenge in my career that I took on. And it was a success story. Not because I'm so wonderful, but
You kept working.
Just sticking with it, keeping your nose to the grindstone. I am not the brightest fork in the outlet, but I'm very persistent. I keep trying, and I keep talking to people, and eventually figure it out.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, my mom or dad will continue to talk and be like, hey, learn as much as you can from this person or this person, because you're going to save your money, or you're going to save a lot of money down the road if you can do jobs yourself, if you can fix the switch yourself, if you can put in a ceiling fan yourself, if you can do plumbing yourself.
Yes.
The minor jobs that you originally were taking on that saved you money. And so I think, YouTube nowadays, you can...
YouTube's fantastic.
You can YouTube anything and be like, how do I do this? And like, my friend told me the other day, Lowe's has a YouTube channel that they have like all the stuff of, you buy our stuff, we'll teach you how to put it in. And so it's this whole thing of, like you said, people give up too easily. And what would be one thing, what's the kind of like thinking you have to go through of like not giving up? Like, what's the point of between not giving up and like not knowing how to do something? Like, you can't do something, so you have to bring somebody in, versus maybe if I worked a little harder, I could do something. Like, what's kind of the like barrier between those two?
In my specific case with this one, I knew ultimately people wouldn't be happy about it, but I had a safety net. We could call in a professional contractor to clean up what I didn't have done, but I never wanted to do that. I'm tech support, and we're supposed to be able to do everything. Well, what I found out was you don't have to be that smart, but you need to have contact with people who are. The people with the experience. I learned all my woodworking from my father-in-law. I learned how to work on cars and appliances from my dad. There's very little that I have just figured out on my own, honestly. I've always been under mentors and learned stuff, and people say, oh, you know so much. And it's like, I just learned it from other people. You pay attention and listen to what they tell you and set your pride aside and just learn.
Speaking of mentors, would you say you have like one mentor? Like you said, your father and father-in-law. Besides those two, is there someone either in a church throughout the years or in work throughout the years that kind of stuck out to you as he was a great mentor to me, either spiritually or in like fixing stuff or doing stuff like that?
I have had several people spiritually that have been, I hate to use the word inspirational because that's so vague, but I really grew spiritually. Dr. Francis Schaeffer is one of them. Even though I never met him, he was a friend of my neighbor's. But his writings and his radio broadcasts were transformational to me, honestly. At work, a man who was not a Christian man, but the dude was just, he had at least twice my IQ. And he was into everything. He knew everything, and he was a humble guy. And I found out, I would just talk to him about things.
Yeah.
And he just seemed to know everything about everything. And so I would just drain his brain on any topic that I needed.
Yeah.
And I'd learn all this stuff. And he was fantastic. He retired probably about 5 or 6 years ago, but he was kind of a legend at our workplace. And he was the guy that could always figure everything out.
So like even as an adult, you were still learning from other people. It wasn't like you got to a certain point and you're like, oh, I know everything now, I'm good.
Nope. And if you ever believe that you've gotten to a point where you're there, that's your first clue you're not.
Yeah.
For one thing, you can never quit learning. When you quit learning, intellectually you die, and you're a dinosaur. Even in my workplace, as these new systems come in, we learn new technology, new systems, stuff that there's a microwave transmission system that I spent 25 years working on, and I was like the go-to guy. I was the expert on it. It's mothballed. It's gone. Everything I knew about that system, it's been flushed away. And I've had to learn new systems. I'm always learning. There's always changes, and I still learn from other people. There's always mentors. And as soon as you think you got it, you realize there's some new area that you need to learn and explore. And it's like suddenly you are the neophyte all over again. You're the guy that knows nothing.
Yeah.
And you have to grow in that new area. And you're feeling so great about yourself. And now here's this new area where you are just this mental midget. And you start over humbly. And you talk to the mentors, the people that know it, and you grow in that area. And eventually people are asking you for advice.
Yeah.
But it never quits.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what, because a lot of people will tell you, your people are looking up to you. Younger people are looking up to you. Like even in high school, like as a senior, people were like, "Oh, the freshmen are looking up to you," and it was just like looking up to me. Like I'm looking up to other people. Like I know nothing. Like you said, like I'm at the bottom of the food chain right now. I'm 18 years old.
You think you're at the bottom of the food chain,
and it's like who's looking? Who should be looking to me? Like no one should be looking to me. I'm looking to other people. So what's the mentality that you should have of learning but also being the mentor at the same time? Because like at least for me, if I feel like I would be one or the other, I'm like I'm the learner right now or I'm the mentor right now. Is it is it situation to situation, or can you like balance both at the same time?
Good question. And you have to change your mindset to where you realize that you are always learning and you're always teaching.
Okay.
That's who we are as human beings. And it is very area dependent. There are some areas where I am the quote unquote expert.
Yeah.
And people really look to me and my knowledge level is pretty high. There are other areas where I'm the new guy learner just starting out on things. And that is life. And yeah, people look up to you all the time. I found out when I was a teenager, there was some grade schoolers and junior hires that were looking up to me, and it shocked me.
Yeah.
You know, I was the big high school guy, you know, that they were looking at, and I thought, wow, my life needs to be right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, these people are looking at me. And it's always that way at every phase of life.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it was funny when I would always look up. I remember looking up to people. There's like the big 8th grader, and I was like, "Wow! Once I get to 8th grade, I'll be so cool." Then you get to 8th grade, it's like, "Oh, I'm still a loser," and then it's like, "Oh, once I get to be a senior in high school, I'll be really cool." And then it's like, "Oh, still a loser," and it's that mentality, like you said, of always learning, but you're always teaching somebody. Someone's always gonna be better than you, and someone's always gonna be lower, not in the sense of someone's going to be dumber than you or whatever, but someone's going to be younger than you. Someone's still going to be
someone needs your knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm like 58 now, and I just feel like there is so much to learn still in life, and I try to really be humble about it, realizing that as soon as you think you're something, life will take you down.
Yeah.
Life has a way of humbling you if you don't do it yourself. So I'd prefer to do it myself.
Would you say it's good to like seek out a mentor, or should it just happen naturally? Like should you just through life let like, let's say I'm wanting a mentor, should I specifically go out and ask someone, will you be my mentor? Or should I just kind of examine who the people in my life are and be like, you know what, maybe I'll just gravitate towards that person and maybe it will happen naturally. Like, or maybe both would be good depending on the situation.
And that's a good question, because in our culture, particularly our Christian culture, we talk a lot about mentors, and even in the business world, mentors. We have in government service, we have mentorship programs and all kinds of mentoring stuff. It's a big thing, and mentoring is a big thing. But as far as going and asking somebody to be a mentor, I have never done that personally. What I find is that just dependent on the situation, I will go to somebody and say, hey, I need some help with this. What do you know about this? Educate me on this. And that goes for spiritually too. I mean, there are times where, you know, I'm studying something in scripture and I'm like, wow, I just don't really get this. And I'll go to people, maybe to a pastor or somebody, and say, hey, oh, what's your opinion on this? How do you take this? How do you read this?
Yeah.
What do you think this means? And just learn. I may or may not like the answer, but it always develops me. Whether I agree with it or not, it always changes my thinking when I bounce that off of other people. You know, if you're doing an actual formal trade apprenticeship, there you're really going to have to latch onto somebody who's willing to take you under their wing, work with you, have patience with you.
Yeah.
That's a very specific job type situation. One of the jokes in our family, my father-in-law is very gifted with his hands as far as woodworking and those kind of things. And he would show me how to do things, and I would try them, and it was just apparently painful for him to watch me struggle with some of these things. And so the famous line was, he would want the tool back and the material. He said, let me see that once. And he would just finish it because he couldn't stand the pain of watching me try to develop on this. But I always took it in stride.
Yeah.
I don't have in me what he has. I'm never going to. As much as I aspire to be like him, I'm not going to be. But I learned a ton. I learned so much. And there's so many things I can do for myself now. Good enough. Not to his standard.
Yeah.
So we learn from everybody.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking through, after I asked that question, of it probably depends on the situation of what you want to learn or what you need to learn. Like, if you need to learn how to fix cars, if you before asked someone, will you be my mentor? And then a couple months down the road, oh, I need to know how to work on a car, and they have no idea how to work on a car, it's like, you need to go to somebody else. And so I think, like you were talking about in a trade or a job, if you're trying to learn one specific thing, it might be really good to go to someone and be like, can you teach me this? Can you guide me through this? But I guess in life or just in general, if you were trying to seek information, you might just situation by situation go to like certain experts in a sense, like in air quotes, experts of, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Cause I catch myself, or not catch myself, I'll do that, of like my dad as a pastor of, hey dad, what do you think about this passage? Or go to my soccer coach in high school and be like, hey, what do you think would be best in this area or something like that. But go to like the certain people and ask them for advice in those certain areas. But yeah, that definitely would be good.
Yeah, I find it's very situation specific. You mentioned cars, and I know there are certain individuals that I know, friends, both work and church and neighbors and that. And it's just a loose network that we exchange ideas.
Yeah.
You know, hey, have you ever done this job before? No, I haven't, but talk to so-and-so because I know he's done it a couple times. I'll talk to that person. Oh, yeah, you need to know this and this and this. And, oh, I got this tool you're going to need to borrow. And if you get hung up, let me know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of knowledge sharing there that goes on just in our normal communal everyday living, which I think is good. That's the way it should be, all learning from each other.
And like Mr. Newton that I work with day in and day out, he knows so much about different things.
That guy is so gifted. It's
crazy.
Sickening.
And it's like, I've worked with him 2 summers now, and I've learned so much from him, and I've forgotten a lot of it, but I remember a lot of it too of like at home, my mom will be like, hey, can you do this? Oh yeah, Mr. Newton told me I can do it this way or whatever. But then there's times where even at his incredible skill, incredible talent level, that he'll get to a problem and be like, oh, I need to call on this person. Or I'll have this person come by. Or, oh, I need to look into this more. I need to research this more. And even he is constantly learning, and he learns from those people. Next time that situation comes up, he's like, oh yeah, someone told me I could do this. Does it, gets it fixed. So like, he'll tell me when he's working and he'll tell me how to do something. He'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so taught me how to do this. And he has an incredible humble attitude of someone else has taught me this. It's not just I know everything, giving it to you, but so-and-so taught me this. I can teach you now. You can go teach somebody else. And it's just super cool to work with him for these last 2 summers of just like such a humble attitude, even for knowing so much and doing such a great job in like so many things, that yet he's still like, I'm still learning. And he has that learning attitude that we were talking about earlier of constantly learning, looking up stuff on the internet, going to different people. Because, I mean, as gifted as we can be, we're not going to be able to do everything.
That's right.
There's no way. So, but yeah, it's really cool to work with him and work with people like that can teach you.
And knowing your limits is good too. There have been things over the years I have come to realize that there's an artistic skill set that is involved with drywall mudding and doing body work on cars.
Yeah.
That type of skill that many people have tried to help me with, and apparently it's not something I'm ever going to achieve. And you got to know when it's just not you.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it done. And so, to give you an example, when I framed out a bedroom in our basement years ago, I mean, I did all the framing, insulation, hung the drywall, drop ceiling, electrical, and all that. But once I had hung the drywall, I stopped. I called my buddy Dave. I said, I got a drywall mudding job for you. He came out, did his expert thing, and just effortlessly did that, sanded it all out. I thanked him and paid him. He went home. I went back to the priming and painting and went on with the project. I can't do it. I can't be taught. Some people may disagree. I'm telling you, I can't be taught to do that well. And so that's where you need the help, and you just, that's the way it is. And it's okay. We can't be the expert on everything.
All right, one last question. If you could suggest one thing for people to go out and do, whether it's I honestly don't know. If you could suggest like one action step for people to do, like take this action step and it'll help you immensely, what would it be? That's really open-ended.
It is, and 2 things occur to me actually. Number 1 is always be humble, and number 2, try.
Okay.
And don't get discouraged when it doesn't work the first time.
Yeah.
Before you try, find somebody that knows how to do it.
Yeah,
somebody you can fall back on.
And
that's how you move forward. That's how you learn.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
And there you have it, everybody. Jeff Johnson. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening to this podcast. It was a little longer than the last one, but this is about how long I'm going to keep the podcast. I don't want to get it too long, but I also want to keep it long enough to where we can get some really good information. And thank you to Jeff for coming on the podcast, giving us some really good, really good information and advice that he's learned from his life experience, and that we can now learn from him. But some just key things that we can take away from the podcast today is be humble, like he said at the end. Be humble and try. Just whatever you got to try. Don't just give up. Work hard. And then the last big thing, I think, is find the people you can learn from. Find those mentors. Find the people that are better, and find the people that in a sense are an expert in their fields, and go and learn from them. So to kind of go along with that, the challenge of the week is to find something you're not good at and get better. It's not master it, it's not become an expert in a field, but it's find something you're not good at and just work hard and get better at it. It can be as simple Honestly, like the one thing I thought of, it's not too simple, but it's a language of download an app and try to learn part of a language. That honestly is not simple at all now that I think about it. But I guess it's simple to start. I mean, like they have Duolingo that you can download for free, and there's like I think 15 to 20 languages you can pick from. So maybe something like that is. It's a little more involved. Learning a language is super involved. But you can find experts in those fields. If you want to learn Spanish, I'm sure you can find someone who knows Spanish around you that can help you learn through that. If you want to learn Russian, if you want to learn Chinese, if you want to learn Arabic. I'm personally trying to learn Arabic right now. So you can look up YouTube videos. You can look up other podcasts on these languages. But maybe a language is something you could try. Maybe a sport. Maybe you play a sport and there's a certain skill. I remember when I played soccer, I really sucked at juggling. And so juggling is something I had to get better at. And so I worked hard. I can't do much of it today. Like I can probably do 30 juggles, but back in when I like first started, I could do like 2. So I'm better at it now. I'm not a master, obviously. I know friends who can do like 500 in a row, but I'm better at it. And so find something you're not good at or you haven't even tried yet. Maybe it's like, I hadn't even thought about that. Find something you're not good at. Find something you maybe not haven't tried, and just get better at it. Be better than you were yesterday. So that's this week's challenge. If you guys learned something from this podcast, really stuck out to you, you can leave a comment on the YouTube video or send me a direct message on Instagram at CA_podcast. That's the Instagram page. Go give that a follow if you already haven't. Trying to think. Oh, also challenges. If you think I should try out a challenge, go ahead and comment or send me a direct message. But I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening to episode 2, and we should be coming out with another episode next Monday. But until then, thank you.